We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Massive show in store for you tonight. Carter Bryant joins us at 7:30 to talk all things LSU football. Maybe, we'll talk special teams coordinator. How important is it to have a special teams coordinator? What does he think? He's got Colin Hurley on tonight, I think. We'll discuss that with him as well. We always have a lot of things that we discuss with Carter. It's going to be really fun to catch back up with him. LSU baseball recap and preview. LSU wins the tournament this weekend as they go 2-1, only dropping their one game to Iowa. Surprised? Not really. That LSU is still the number one team in the country when it comes to baseball after losing to Iowa, as they absolutely dominated Sam Houston State, a team that used to be in the Southland Conference, and their women are ugly, their mamas are ugly, their grandmammies wear granny panties that were invented in the 1980s. But nevertheless, LSU rolls against the Sam Houston Stinkers, because we're not going to name their real mascot on this show, even though I think they're like the Cougars or some stupid like that. I do not like Sam Houston. By the way, Willie Fritz was at Sam Houston, if you remember that as well, the current Tulane head coach. Nevertheless, we are live doing a lot of good things. And Michael Dodor, the safety out of Georgia, has entered the transfer portal. Yeah. Enters the transfer portal. Yes, indeed. So we'll get rolling. Let's get to a couple of these comments, though, before we get started. Blake might have the longest intro for a show. LOL, love the show. Actually, we don't. I don't think. I mean, some people do, like, Josh Pate, my buddy Josh Pate, does a 10-minute countdown. I can't even get a damn 2-minute countdown. Zach. Demoted. Give me the red-bearded Reagan. Reagan's going to be the new producer, his brother. The man that loves Jesus more than anybody. The pastor. It's his job to love Jesus. Nevertheless. All right. Penn Jones says, let's go. Travis Dyson says, oh, yes, sir. Jeff says the Bearcats, you know what I mean, Jeff. Nobody gives two flying Rudy Poos what Sam Houston State's mascot is. Again, and I will repeat myself, their moms are ugly, their girlfriends are ugly, and their grandmammies wear granny panties that were invented in the 1980s. They got saggy boobs everywhere, nipples going from sideways, having to milk them like a cow just to lactate. Sam Houston is the worst team on planet Earth. Shout out to Willie Fritz. Ryan Gidry says, oh, let's go. Yes, sir. Let's do this thing. And Chance Babin says, did Michael Dodor just not have the chest? Question mark. Look, it's a long story. A lot of things are crazy with that one. A lot of things are crazy, believe it or not, with that one. But yes, I just don't know if he had the chest. I don't know. And then what's even crazier is, like his family was like ripping alive a media member of LSU. They go on that person's show, and then not even 2 minutes 2 months into his first year at as a new enrollee, a midterm enrollee, he's leaving. And they called him King. So, yeah. James Washington says, sheesh. It's true, James. Good to see you in here, bud. Terry Dillahuse sends some tiger emojis. Jacob Wiggins says, Let's go. Yeah, let's do it. Kenny Futch says, once again, Carl the cat is out there and he's listening. I hope so. Chad on YouTube says, did Ben like the baseball game and did he go with the traditional hot dog and nachos? So Chad, he loved the LSU baseball game. Maybe I'll bring him in here during the break. He loved the baseball game. He did get a hot dog. He eats hot dogs weird. Like he eats the meat portion of the hot dog first and then the bun. Really strange. Got to be plain. He had him some Coke, I think, and some water. But yeah, a dad and son day. Me and Ben had yesterday at Southeastern Louisiana, as I took Ben to his first college baseball game. Kyle Trammell says prediction on LSU and Texas. We will get that to here tonight, but he says 5-3 Tigers. I like that. Chan says 27-1 second season is not too shabby for old Kim Mulkey. Very much so. Very, very much so. Jeff says Ben can eat his glizzy however he wants. Pause. But yes, why are hot dogs called glizzies? Zach, you're a Gen Z. You're a Gen Z. What? Let me bring you up. Why is it called glizzies?
I have no clue.
Why are you even here? I come to you for very needed information, and you can't answer.
Listen, glizzy is not really a term for a hot dog. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
How do you eat your hot dog? Oh, my God. Yes? Okay. Well, they want to talk to you anyways. All right, come here. Ben, they want to know. Put your golf club down. Put your golf club down. We're live, so you got to be ready. Let's go. All right, stop crying. Stop complaining. Hey, they want to know if you had a great time at the baseball game yesterday. Say it louder. Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest, big boy. Did you enjoy your time at the baseball game? Say yes. All right. Hey, you know what? Tell them what you're doing this weekend. What you doing this weekend? Me, you, and Papa. Oh, you going fishing? You going fishing? Now, what's the problem? What's wrong? Mommy won't give you your socks? Well, I'm sure there's a good reason. All right. Love you. Take your golf club. Close the door for Daddy. See you in just a minute. If you don't know, that's my son, Ben. He just got some golf clubs, and he's loving it. Close the door, dude. All right, let's get this thing rolling. Let's get this thing started. We got a lot of LSU to discuss. Everybody do us a favor, though, by hitting the like and share to all of those social media groups, share to all of your social media pages. Everybody on Facebook absolutely killing it for us on the show the last couple of weeks. If you're listening to us on YouTube, don't forget we're doing the $200 giveaway. Subscribe here and to the Ruffino and Joe Show. We appreciate you doing that for that chance to win $200. If you're listening to us on wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe there as well. We greatly appreciate it. Zach, I almost called you Joe. Why did I almost call you Joe? Zach, let's get us to the first break. We'll be back in just a moment. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag. And our good friends over at GM Barno & Sons, gmbarnosons.com. We break down some LSU baseball and Michael Dodor leaving LSU very unexpectedly. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Varnado & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varnado & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992, 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. LSU, Zach, with a very massive weekend on the diamond as they go out to Texas and take 2 of 3, taking down Kansas State and taking down Sam Houston State in a 2 of 3 series, winning the whatever classic. They got a belt. Sounds cool. Sounds cute. I don't really care about some belt that they win. Daddy wants a natty. That's what Daddy wants. Daddy wants a natty. But nevertheless, let's talk about the Tigers. Look, this weekend for me, and I don't know how you feel, but I feel was a pretty damn good success. Now, on Thursday, me and you discussed, right? Like we sat here and we talked all the different angles and aspects and everything I thought would go on this weekend. Zach, I think we pretty much hit it to a T. I said that I thought LSU was going to go 2 of 3 this past weekend. They did. I thought that Saturday game against Iowa would give LSU a lot of problems. It did. Now, Iowa's pitcher got ejected, but it didn't stop him for throwing the ball 101 miles an hour 3 times that I counted during that game. LSU responded. They got pissed off. And quite truthfully, I think it's the best thing that could have happened to this team. When you have a team, especially in baseball, that's this talented, sometimes you got to get beat. You refocus, you relock in. And when guys like this refocus and lock in, things like Dylan Cruz on his 21st birthday happens where he goes 5 for 6 to the plate. You've got Jared Jones hitting another baseball, 417 yards down the line in left field. You have Bryant Jobert, who I think that I've been more high on than anybody on any podcast that regards LSU on what I thought he could do after seeing him take 4 bats in the preseason. He hits 2 bombs on Sunday, which quite frankly, even if there's a left-handed pitcher, I do not believe that he needs to be out of the lineup. No questions asked. LSU had a good weekend. They go to Texas tomorrow, and I will be open and honest and more of a fan with this take than most people will agree with. I want them to take down Texas in dramatic fashion. I want you to go out there tomorrow and make an outright statement and tell everybody in the country, especially to those in Texas that are coming to the SEC, this is Daddy's time. Do you think it's cute to come into the SEC? Good luck. Good luck. Because you can come into it all you want. You're already 0-3 in the SEC so far. When you started the first 3 games, 0-3, getting taken down by Mizzou, getting taken down by Vanderbilt. Doesn't take away what LSU did this past weekend. I thought it was a good success. You got down twice in 2 games. The early games, you were down twice. You battled back and won the first one. You battled back and lost the second one. It's okay. Gosh, you got teams like who's really good, who number 2 in the country, Florida, or number 3 in the country, whatever they are, lost to South Florida in their second midweek game. South Florida gave them all the fits that they could have this past midweek. It's okay if you lose a game in baseball. But saying that this team is overrated, saying that this team is bad, saying that this team is just in a scenario, in a situation where they're overrated, I don't think is warranted. I just don't believe it's warranted. But I like what you saw Friday for Paul Skeens. You know, the best thing that LSU fans could have seen this past weekend was you hit adversity and you battled out of it. Right? Paul Skeens had one of the worst innings that he could probably possibly have with the talent that he has, and he battled out of it. I want to see these guys in the early seasons have adversity, because when you have adversity in your non-conference, when you're faced with it in the SEC, you're just used to it by then. It happened to this team a year ago when they got to a regional. They're down early. They're down late to Southern Miss. Their lives are on the line. And K. Doty hits a home run. Braden Joe Bear goes absolutely cuckoo for absolute Cocoa Puffs. Dylan Cruz does some things. I love seeing that this team early has adversity that they have to overcome, and they respond to it. Now, Saturday, I will admit this. The biggest thing for me that was a disappointment, and I don't want to necessarily even say disappointment. Riley Cooper had a rough day, okay? Had a really rough day. He had a really good game one, and then he struggled again. Now you have this upcoming weekend. We have Butler in game one, and you have Rudy Poo State in the next 2 games. Do you give Riley Cooper another leash to go in there and be in a situation where, hey, you got touched up against Iowa. Let's respond. Let's move forward. See what he can do. Now, I'm sure we'll get that from Jay Johnson at some point. But it does open up the door, in my opinion, for a guy like Thatcher Hurd, if he eventually can come around and have a good outing on Tuesday, and another guy that, for whatever it's worth, the bats are probably overtaking this, and so is Paul Skeens. I mean, really and truthfully, what about Christian Little? Now, I could say that all about Riley Cooper, but Tommy Tanks had a little bit of a disappointing weekend too. I'm going to give him a little bit of a mulligan, though. A little bit of a mulligan. Sometimes guys are in situations, okay, where when you get hurt, you get injured, you know, maybe you'll get to a point where, you know, you got to get moving a little. You know, the crazy thing is you got Trey Morgan, who went 0 for 8 in the opening weekend, then hit for the cycle and had a really good weekend. Can Tommy Tanks get rolling in Austin tomorrow night? I think that he can. Now, Ryan Williams, our good buddy, over the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Go over there for any title things that you need with your home. For any title things that you need, do it right now, and he'll get to them. Any attorney needs you need as well. But I agree with him. Tommy Tanks gets going tomorrow night. I hope that he does. Ryan says that Christian Little needs to start tomorrow night. Jay's already announced that they're going with Thatcher Hurd. So let's see. All in all, I still think it's a good weekend. Anytime that you go into any game where you have over 20 hits, it's an accomplishment. It's what gets you confidence and gets you rolling. Now, I really hope that LSU wears the golds tomorrow. Just me. I don't think that they will. But I really want LSU to go out there tomorrow and beat Texas. Go out there and show why you deserve to be the number 1 team in the country. Because this weekend, it is what it is. It is what it is. You played strong. You played good. You came out on fire. You did some good things. Now you got to respond and get rolling. Because in a couple weeks, you will face some really good teams. Now, I see the question here, like Blaine Smith says, and this is a team that you will face. Why was Vitello suspended? I think Vitello was suspended to pay penance to get his number one overall or first round draft pick, the kid from Hawaii, to be eligible. But Vitello's back. No, level 3 violation. Truth is, Vitello should have never been suspended. They should have made him pay the $5,000 and cleared the kid, whatever. But you have a lot of good teams that you're going to face. And I will tell you, it's not going to get any easier. You know, I don't know how much SEC baseball that you guys watched this weekend, but do you see what Ole Miss did yesterday? I know that they lost on Friday, but they – Zach, I hate to say this, they might be better at the plate this year than they were at all last year. They are red hot. Florida, you don't have them on your schedule, thank God, is murdering the baseball right now. Thank God you ain't got Vandy on your schedule. I said roster, on your schedule. Because I don't know if you saw what Vandy did this weekend. They pitched lights out against a top 25 opponent. Now is the time to get rolling. And my God, how good it would feel to beat Texas while they're on the Longhorn Network. I will be open and honest. I'm not a Texas Longhorn fan. Have not been a Longhorn fan ever. I've always hated them. Stay consistent. Stay within yourself. And if adversity hits yourself or hits you or hits your team, you're able to respond to it. But all in all, I think it was a really good weekend. Jeff, a couple comments, and I want to get to Michael Dodor as well. He says, I can't wait to see Griffin Herring get some more innings. I agree with that. Chad says, I find the number of strikeouts concerning. How many do they have, Chad? How many do they have? I mean, maybe you can say that against Iowa, but at the same time, man, I mean, LSU, here was the biggest issue with LSU on Saturday. You ready? It's their only issue. Timely hitting. Timely hitting. If I'm not mistaken, they left more than 12 players on base on Saturday. 12 players on base. Guys, if you get a third, Zach says 14 to be exact. Okay, well then 14, then maybe so, because I stopped counting after the 7th inning. So there you go, Zach. 14 runners on base in Saturday's matchup. That can't happen. But here's the good thing. That's the worst game LSU's played on the year. They won't leave 14 guys on base again. That's big league at bats. They were taking a lot of walks, saw a lot of pitches. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. Let me talk about this before we get to Carter Bryant. In case you missed it, to transition within the next 4 minutes. In case you missed it, over the weekend, Michael Dodor, who was nicknamed King, was a safety out of the state of Georgia, had signed and enrolled at LSU, entered the transfer portal this past Sunday, or announced that he had hit the portal this past Sunday. Yesterday. Or was it yesterday or Saturday? I don't remember. I will tell you this very quickly. There's a story that doesn't need to be shared on here. And quite frankly, this is why, in my opinion, you have a lot of people that are angry with the way that college football is being run right now. Okay. There is a lot of the fan base and a lot of fan bases and a lot of fans in college football that do not like the way that things are structured when Michael Dodor, who's an 18-year-old kid be enrolled at LSU for 2 months and enter the transfer portal. Okay? People don't like that, nor really and truthfully should that be allowed to happen. But I am of the belief system that if a kid doesn't want to be here, let him leave. If he doesn't want to be at your school, he's not going to do anything but cause troubles in your locker room. Let him leave. But I sit here and just say the only negative thing I will say probably tonight about LSU when it comes to in-house things. When you recruit a kid from the state of Georgia and you pass on a kid from Louisiana and the kid leaves you and is going to go somewhere else and enters the portal, even if there's a story involved in all of this, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you have a little bit of explaining to do to me, because there are a couple kids in this 2024 class that deserve to have offers, in my opinion, that don't have them yet. Okay? So, say what you want about Michael Dodor. Say that, you can't nickname yourself king and pronounce yourself as a king. You can't ridicule media members at LSU and then go on the show and then do stuff like this. Now, he's an 18-year-old kid. Everyone in here was 18 years of age before and had quit something when they were 18. A lot of you quit stuff. You quit a girlfriend. You quit this. You quit that. I get all that. He's a young man. I'm with you. But I do hate, and I say hate with a very strong passion, that a kid could be here for 2 months and there's no backlash to that. When you sign on the dotted line, whether it's me, you, or whoever, there's usually non-competes that come with those. So this kid this isn't good. So now let me ask you this, and I'm glad that the NCAA is allowing this to happen. Now LSU can go into the portal and get a couple more guys and maybe go get a safety if they need one or if they want one. But I just don't like it. And it's not to ridicule the kid. It's not, I think his parents are great. I think that they've done a lot of great stuff. They follow us on Twitter, for crying out loud. It's a bad look. It's a bad look for a lot of people. Now, this, that, or a third, it's more of a bad look on Michael Dodor. All right. He's here. He's been waiting to join the show. He's going to have Colin Hurley on later tonight. Let's talk to him next. Is our good buddy, Carter the Power Bryant, who was in Louisiana this past week and decided, you know what, Blake's not my friend anymore. I don't have to go see him. And he did not come see me before he drove back to the state of Arkansas. So let's get to the buddy who says that we're best friends but doesn't even invite me or come over to hang out with his best bud. Let's talk to it next. But before we do that, talk about our good friends over at Wham Electric. You're a licensed electrical contractor. Guys, I know it's not hurricane season right now, but before you know it, in 6 short months, it will be. Call them today. Get that generator. Make sure everything around your home and your residence is up to date, up to code, and ready to go, because God knows in this great state, hurricane season is just a blink away. Call them, get your generator or any residential electrical needs that you have at 985-241-8059. That's 985-241-8059. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Talk about good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm. Back in 50 seconds. Talk to Carter, the Power Bryant, next.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino with AYS sent you on by.
Who in the hell do you think that you are?
What's up?
That you could come to this beautiful state and not come and see me.
I invited you. I would
You
have.
invited me. You said, Blake, it's like 6 o'clock. You're like, Blake, you want to come out to eat? Knowing I got 2 kids in a jungle gym I got to put together for kids out here.
Bring the kids. Tell
I
Ben.
can't bring Ben to Mike Anderson's. Mike Anderson would be burned down before 11 o'clock.
Oh my God. You are more than welcome to hang out. But here's what's good is you get to talk to me every Monday. We talk with each other on the phone, probably more than anybody that we talk to on the phone. So here we go, man. It's a brilliance of YouTube. We're hanging out right now.
All right, you know what I learned this weekend?
What's that? Let's hear it.
Ranch water is not when we think of ranch water, it's not like the food ranch. It's actually cowboy ranch.
Right. Yeah.
It's a beer. I legitimately thought that you and your wife were so disgusting that y'all were drinking water that had a hint of ranch in it, like dressing.
So this is what's really interesting is I do not like ranch water. I like fruity drinks. My wife loves ranch water. She prefers High Noons though, but those are just too daggum expensive. High Noons. Have you ever had a High Noon, Ruffino?
I have had a night. I have.
And what did you think?
I'm not necessarily. I'm not a nooner. I'm not
either. I'm telling you right now, though, there is nothing like a daiquiri out of the machine, though. Nothing. Yeah, I went to Zippy's for the first time since college.
Oh my God, that was your first time, and you've lived in Baton Rouge?
No. It was the first time since college that I was able to get a Zippy's DAC. Dude, I don't know how they do it. Like the consistency, everything is just incredible. There's few places on the planet I like to drink more than there. So I got to go do that, and you didn't come hang out, man.
I know. All right.
You should have come.
All right, so let's get to some college football news. Before we get to LSU, who is your most overrated coach in college football? We were talking about this on the Ruffino and Joe show.
Most overrated coach. You know who it actually was? James Franklin for a while.
God, man. Joe, my co-host on the other show, said the same thing.
But no, he's good. He's good.
Right.
Look, before the season, his offenses were not where they needed to be for him to be an offensive background coach, but he's solid, right? Yes, Penn State.
2 seasons of 9 wins at Vandy, dude. I mean,
yeah. So no, he's good. I used to always think it was James Franklin, but I will still stand by this. Part of why I turned on James Franklin so much is, his name was popped up a lot when the LSU job opened up, but I was just hoping that wasn't going to be LSU's guy. It's not that I don't think James Franklin is a great coach. I think he's fine. It's just I don't think he is as good as everyone paints him out to be. But I do agree with you. The Vanderbilt 9-win seasons were amazing. Obviously, Penn State this last year was honestly one of his better coaching jobs. And now he's got arguably the best young running back in the sport, Nicholas Singleton, going into next year.
Beast.
Dude, he's amazing.
Dude, I'm just going to tell you something. Penn State, if they can figure out with their quarterback, and he's young and he's talented, he did some good things last year, buddy, they got a really good roster. It wouldn't surprise me if they won the Big Ten. Let me put it like it would not surprise me. They returned 4 of the 5 starting DBs. They returned both their linebackers, their entire defensive line, their entire offensive line, their wide receiver core, and they, like you said, they had. I'm going to make a hot take. I think they got the best back, maybe the best back returning in the country outside of Blake Corum.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in full agreement with you. But like when I really think about it, the most overrated coach in college football, obviously,
Steve Sarkisian.
Yes, I mean I could see that, but I think
that was my number 1, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm fine. I'm fine with Sark being that guy, but I guess overrated. At this point, you could make a case Mac Brown. I think North Carolina. I think North Carolina's underachieved these past couple of seasons. So,
but what's overachieving for them? I feel like 8-9 wins has been overachieving.
Right, but based on what
basketball school.
Right, but based on what they had, and I think you would agree, even though they had a little bit of a resurgence this year, the ACC hasn't been where it needs to be. You could make a strong case that right now. Now, obviously at Texas, he was phenomenal. He was the last coach to win at Texas, but I think just off the top of my head, maybe it's Mac Brown. And here's another one for you in terms of just overrated. Now, as you know, I adore this man, but maybe Lane Kiffin's a little overrated. A little. I think he is a special play caller. I think his offenses are phenomenal. I've shared 1,000 times that I think Lane Kiffin is just an amazing coach. And, you can go back and watch all my videos. He was one of my top 5 candidates for the LSU opening. Obviously, I'm really happy with Brian Kelly and where we are right now. But, I could make a strong case that Lane Kiffin, obviously, Ole Miss winning 10 games for the first time in a gazillion years is something.
Ever in a regular season, ever.
It absolutely is something, but the amount of close game luck that Ole Miss has had over the past couple of years is pretty ridiculous. And for me, every year as a head coach of a team, I don't like having to deal with, is this guy leaving or is he staying? That is a very stressful thing on an administration. So maybe Lane Kiffin is a little overvalued as a head coach, but overall, I think he's fine.
So we have some comments. Stephen Bourgeois says inside the chat, Jimbo Fisher. Here's the thing about that and why I didn't put him in my top 3. Jimbo Fisher's 122-44 as a college head coach. That is exceptional. Okay. That's really freaking good. Okay, Steve Sarkisian was my number 2. He's 59-47. Did you know that he's never had a 10-win season as head coach?
Never?
Ever.
You have been banging the drum, and you've been right about Texas.
I'm like the golden band from Tigerland in this hoe. Boom, 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 boom. I'm banging that bitch all the way down Death Valley. He's not that good. Okay, I'm about to say one, though.
Let's hear it.
I'm about to say one, though, that's probably going to get me fired from Belief. Okay, because our CEO is an alumni from here.
Yeah,
and I just want to preface this in saying this coach is going to win a lot of football games. Okay, a lot of football games.
Okay,
he doesn't win significant ones. Lincoln Riley's a little overrated to me. Carter, here's an interesting stat. You're a stat guy. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Last year, he faced four top 25 opponents.
Okay.
He lost to Utah twice, who, by the way, Utah lost to 6-6 Florida. Okay. They lost to Tulane. They lost to UCLA, or they beat UCLA by 1. At Oklahoma in 2021, they beat Oregon in a bowl game, which, by the way, he wasn't there to coach. So, but I gave him that. He lost to Baylor and Oklahoma State. He's 2-5 in the last 7 top 25 matchups.
Right.
Here's the interesting thing. You ready for it? You're big on what's your biggest thing you look for in college football? It's yards per what?
Yards per play. That's always going to be
it cut by a third. In every top 25 games that Lincoln Riley has ever coached, the yards per play is either cut in a third or in half.
right.
So here's the hope that I have for Lincoln Riley, okay, before I get fired.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I was begging for him as a college football fan to fire Alex Grinch. And please, God, go get Jim Leonard.
Or somebody.
Jim Leonard. You
Right.
can afford him. I'm just throwing that out there. I think, but here's the thing. Me saying he's overrated is meaning I do not think that he is a top 5 head coach. He's been labeled as a top 5 head coach. 247 and On 3 had him as a top 5 coach in the country. He's not a top 5 coach. I would put him I would put him behind a crap load of them. Now rip me alive for my take.
No, Lincoln Riley definitely is a top 10 coach. Top 5, I totally agree with you. I don't see him there. For the LSU opening, he was my number 1 candidate. I didn't even know Brian Kelly was something doable at the time, though. I still love Lincoln Riley. I still think he's going to win a college football playoff inevitably. When you have that great a quarterback play every year that he has, at some point you're going to break through and actually get it done.
How many? I think that makes it worse for him that he's had that many quarterbacks that have won Heisman's and been number 1 overall. Say, like, I didn't even bring that up. Dude, he had a quarterback that literally just went to the Super Bowl. I think it's worse for him that he's had that much talent at quarterback and hasn't won a playoff game.
Okay, so let's break down the games themselves, right? So with Jalen Hurts, he played 2019 LSU. After time to prepare, that was arguably
Then
the best.
explain Georgia being up by 30.
Okay, so let's go to the Georgia playoff game when he was at Oklahoma. Overtime game, it's close. Those games could go either way.
Stop though. They were up 30.
They were up 30 in that game.
Okay, maybe I'm a little. They were at least up 21.
Right. No, they definitely, there were some things he could have done better in that game. So, he would probably sit here and tell you that. And that Georgia team was very good. And obviously a bad offsides punt play probably makes Georgia the national champions that year. So, look, you obviously want to win a playoff game. He lost a playoff game with Kyler Murray, and he lost to Nick Saban in Alabama. Now, let me ask you this. Is it bad that you lose to Nick Saban in Alabama in a playoff game? I'm just asking you that.
Not at all.
So I do agree with you. You would like him to have won one of these playoff games. But then again, the biggest thing that he has done or that he hasn't done is what exactly you said. He has kept Alex Grinch as defensive coordinator, and
it's hurt him.
It's hurt, and it's not necessarily because Oklahoma's had bad defensive players. They've had Nick Benito. They've had Neville Gallimore. They've had some other guys.
Who was the kid, Murray, that plays with the Chargers?
Yeah, Kenneth Murray. Yeah. So, from top to bottom, they haven't had, the LSU, Alabama defensive talent, Ohio State defensive talent. But at the same time, Alex Grinch just hasn't been too great. So, as far as Lincoln is concerned, I do think at some point USC will make a playoff. They choked away a playoff appearance this past year, but I do think at some point he will hoist a national championship trophy, but it's going to come down to, can they actually play defense?
So here's my thing. I am willing, okay, the last part of this, I hope the Believe guys are still listening.
They need to. Turn it up, baby.
Because here's the thing. I'm with you. I think that I do believe eventually that he can hoist a national title trophy. Okay, like I do believe I'm with you there.
Right.
but he's got to do better recruiting up front. He's got to get better on the offense and defensive line. That's where I end this. All right, Carter, let's get to some LSU news, though.
No.
Michael Dodor hitting the portal. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we discussed this privately. LSU luckily recruited a absolutely ginormously big defensive back class. Not only just high school players coming in, Blake, but transfer portal guys. And honestly, as you know, Blake, I take, my own personal evaluations of these guys very seriously. I try on Power Hour LSU to give as accurate of a breakdown. I reach out to you, reach out to coaches that I know that evaluate this stuff all the time. And simply put, I mean, Doherty was fine. Any high school player that gets recruited by LSU could turn out to be great. But I'm
not true.
I mean, if every
you're trying to be nice, and I get that, but
the simple truth is he was my lowest graded defensive back, and coming in from high school that LSU brought in. Now, what's funny is
I agree with that.
Yeah, but the funny thing is if you actually watched a lot of his high school stuff, is he never really actually played a whole lot of safety. So he played a lot in the box throughout his high school career, a lot more in his junior than senior year, but still, he was a fine player who had, a great story. He comes over from Georgia, but exactly what you were saying before I came on here, you can get some guys that really want to be here, right? And look, whether or not people want to believe this, recruiting out-of-state guys takes a lot of time and resources to get that guy aboard, and he had been committed.
Could you have spent that time with him on Derek Williams?
Right. And sometimes you can get so locked in on somebody because they're committed and they've been committed for so long. But as far as like these evaluations, really ask yourself, is this player someone that we can see taking us to the next level? And when I watched him, it didn't feel that way. Now, a lot of people are going to, and this already happened just on my regular channel, but especially now with your audience, they're going to come after me and say, you're just saying that because he left. When that's not true. There was a very, I thought Darren Reed, who ended up going to Auburn, is going to be a really good defensive lineman. And
probably.
Yeah, and that's my opinion And so I'm just sharing an example. My opinion doesn't change wherever you go, right? It's just LSU is going to be fine. I think most people feel that way right now. And look, a lot of people in Zachary will tell you Colin Jackson is going to be the real deal. And
I agree with that. Now, I will tell you this. It also tells me that Toviano is moving to safety.
Yeah, and that's where you should play.
And Kylan Jackson, dude, is the Coca-Cola version of what Dodor was going to try to do.
Right.
He's not the great value version. It's the opposite. You know this thing, Carter. He's the Coca-Cola version, okay?
Right.
That kid can really play. He's coming in. I've seen him in person. I've been around him. I've heard him talk. He doesn't say a lot. And really and truthfully, if you said, hey, what's cover 3, he might not know. 95% of what he does is just instinct. And then that's even what's even scarier. But look, that kid's good. And I will tell you, he got a little exposed at times throughout the season from overcommitting, okay, like trying to help out others. But when it came down to him one-on-one versus everybody, he was the best athlete on the field. It wasn't close. Right. So Michael Dodor, and I'm not trying to poo-poo the kid.
Right.
Here's my ultimate thing, though, Carter. I think the NCAA's got to pass legislation. You got to be at a school for a minimum of 6 months before you hit the portal. At minimum, if not a year. Because because I signed a not to compete when I've been at businesses before. I'm sure you have as well.
Now,
why aren't we holding anybody accountable?
Yeah, and look.
Now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll say this, right? We're not piling on somebody. I mean, he's a teenager.
No, it's just the truth. I didn't make you do this.
Yeah, he is a teenager, and we all are, very respectful for that. This stuff is really hard. There's a lot of stress, but when you sign the dotted line, there has to be a level of commitment, right? I don't care if you flip when you're uncommitted. Those are the rules, right? You can do whatever you want. But when you sign, you should not be able 2 months into it to say, no. And also, you don't even put a pad on yet. Like you've not even gone through it yet. You don't really even know until you actually put the pads on for spring, and you were committed for so long. But look, there's probably some other factors at play. And look, I wherever he goes, I hope his dreams come true. But I feel bad for a lot of the LSU staffers are putting in a lot of work to get this kid in, and you spend in the face of all the work and time and resources they did to bring you there. And like you were saying earlier,
It is a slap. Now, listen, I know that there's a long story involved on why he entered the portal. I'm not going to be the one to get into it, at least not tonight, until it gets into, where it is, Carter. But the truth is, if let's just call it what it is, if 100% of what the rumor is around
right
why he left is true, that is the biggest bullshit excuse of you entering the portal. Grow up a little. Okay. You know what teaches you to grow up a little? College.
It does. It does.
Carter, eating ramen noodles in your dorm room, and he would never have to eat it because he's an LSU football player, makes you a man. Okay. So I just wanted to be very well known that I just don't support his decision, nor do I support that, because Carter, and this isn't a defense. I am very player friendly, extremely player friendly. I said, let them get the most money they want in NIL. Don't regulate NIL. I did say regulate the portal, but you can't stop guys where they're going. I am the most, you know this more than anybody, I am the most free-loving dude on the face of the planet when it comes to people doing what they want to do. This is bullshit.
Right. Yeah, and there's nothing else that really needs to be said about it, because at the same time, at least this is LSU's deepest recruited position on the roster when it comes to numbers.
Without question.
Yeah, so they're going to be fine. Even if he decided to stay and it not work out, they still would have been fine. So in terms of just one player coming out, like you said, maybe there's someone else that wants to come in and take that slot.
Let's hope so. All right, Carter, let me ask you this. We're getting into camp this upcoming month, very, very, very close, about 2.5, 3 weeks away, whatever it is. Couple things that you're looking forward to seeing during camp. What are the first things you want to see or know about?
Yeah, so obviously it starts up front. I know you're a big lineman guy. What are both the lines going to look like early on, right? I think one player that low-key is going to be very motivated is Charles Turner, right? These players.
So stop right there very quickly, just so people don't know. LSU offered another center in the portal last week.
Right.
Continue.
And if I'm Charles Turner, I'd take that personally. It's the Michael Jordan meme, if you're big on the internet. Charles Turner is going to come out guns a-blazing and say, look, I was the center in all these big games. You didn't start me last year. They were going with a different center, and he came out, won the job, and was very solid. He wasn't, spectacular. You're not going to mistake him for Ben Wilkerson, but, he got the job done, right? And if I'm Charles Turner, I'm going to go out and prove the haters wrong again, right? I'm going to prove the coaches, hey, you don't need to go get a center in the portal. And he's got a lot of chemistry, obviously, with Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier to this point. So that's going to be a player that I'm going to have my eye on. Obviously, he's got the chemistry with the other offensive linemen. There have been
made a lot of right calls.
Right. And
made a lot of right protection calls, bud. That's 2/3 of what you need to do as a center.
Yeah, and let's say someone like Bill Connolly, right? A very good writer for ESPN, does a lot of SP plus predictions. And one thing that he holds in high regard is offensive line continuity. Charles Turner, Blake, you played the position, getting the chemistry with the guys up front is important, right? Gelling together. That's a very, you got to work together on the offensive line, probably more so than any other position as far as, your unit. And Charles Turner Charles Turner's liked. A lot of people like the fact that he hung around. A lot of people like that he's not the absolute biggest guy on the planet. So, if I'm number 69, I'm looking in the mirror and saying, look, I'm going to get bigger, I'm going to get faster, I'm going to get stronger, and I'm going to be that guy.
Let me give an example as to what you're talking about. This is a big problem that I had when I played center. All right. So act like I'm the center and a linebacker walks down, safety walks down.
Right.
And I look up and I see it and I go, Lucy, Lucy, Lucy. What does that mean? Slide left. It ain't that complicated.
Right. Yeah.
Continuity gets built with if my right tackle doesn't know or my right tackle knows, okay, well, Blake's not talking about me because I got a 5 technique right here. That linebacker is shaded, and we have trips right to the right. We have trips right. So these guys aren't blitzing from the trip side. Right. He's not talking about me. What Blake's talking about is to the 2 guards, hey, right guard, you got to slide to the 1 technique or you're going to have to pass that to the 3. And me and the left guard have a 1-on-1 battle with the 2 guys in the A gap or B gap, whatever you want to call it. That is the ultimate continuity.
Right.
The only way that you know that, the only way is by working. You know who didn't show any of that last year? Cam Wire against Florida State. Garrett Dellinger made a lot of right calls. And the reason I bring that up is Jared Verse got a freeloading sack off of that, and Josh Williams tried to cut him and missed, and Jane Daniels had to run for his life. People that don't experience offensive line play have no idea what they're talking about, specifically the center spot. Specifically, like you have to know just as much of a protection standpoint as anybody on that field. And the truth be told, I can make the argument that the center has to know more than what the coach knows because he's in the game and knows when a dude's bluffing. I knew when Fletcher Cox would tilt. Now Fletcher's playing, and I told you this, that I'd probably never let it go, but he's talking about retirement. When Fletcher Cox, as an example, would tilt his body as a 1 technique, I knew he was trying to swim me. He's trying to get skinny already off the ball.
Right.
When he would play head up, I knew he's just firing off a gap. Those are the small things that you work through as an offensive line unit that nobody talks about. I agree with you on Charles Turner. The only problem I have, now he got really physical as the season went on. I've talked about this a lot. That Alabama game, Carter, they physically dominated. Name a time that Will Anderson ever took over the game.
He prevented 1 touchdown, but that was just 1 play, and that's it. Yeah.
Name a time Dallas Turner did it.
Oh, he was horrible in the LSU game. He had some bad penalties. Yeah.
Now, I can name 5 times that your boy Jalen Carter did it. Point be told, he's got to get more physical.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. And that was the thing going in on him was he's not, the strongest, heaviest guy.
Elite feet.
Right.
He's got the best feet on this offensive line, better than anybody on this team. It's not close.
You sounded like Rex Ryan right now. I like that.
Well, it's not close. It isn't close. It's like a turtle racing a rabbit. Who's going to win? The Ninja Turtles are upset with me with that I make this comparison, but it's true. Who's going to win that race? Now, Carter, I told you this stat before, and people hate the running game. They hate it. They hate it. They hate it. It's one of the main reasons why they want Nussmeier over Daniels, because people don't understand the running game. Carter, it was the best rushing performance that we've had in maybe a decade.
Alabama?
No. The entire season, LSU running the football holistically was the best rushing attack that LSU's had in a decade.
Yeah, and in many
They
ways,
had more yards on less attempts and more touchdowns.
yeah, well, in many ways, it was. Now, it was unique in that obviously Jaden is a transcendent level runner, but even with the running backs, you look at a stat like yards after contact, yards above expectation, all that stuff looks really good for LSU. So I'm in agreement. The running game was spectacular this year.
Last thing for you, my good friend, defensively, what are you looking for?
Yeah, so obviously the big question for the defense is
Backer.
So what is your linebacker unit going to look like? But more importantly, what is the future of Harold Perkins going to look like? He's the best player on the team. I think most people would agree he is no less than top 3 and one of the best players in college football. So what is your plan for him moving forward? Is he an every down Jack? Is he a Mike? Do you want to keep using him the way that you're using him? It's obviously going to be what Matt House is going to decide this offseason. And I think a lot of it's going to determine because I think Perk can play anywhere on the field. But a lot of it, Blake, is going to come down to how does LSU feel about the other guys that they have coming in. Ovia Gufo and Braden Swinson. Can one of those guys be the every down Jack? Obviously, Deshaun Womack, and there's a lot of other pieces coming in. We'll see how they look these first couple of weeks with all the new faces on all 3 levels of the defense. But the story is going to be Harold Perkins and what LSU decides.
Mark Kane low-key recruited a pretty freaking good D-line unit. Let me tell you this about Jamar Kane, okay, that I don't think people get. The Jalen Cook, isn't it Jalen Cook, right? Not Jalen Cook.
For who?
LSU, the new DT.
Jordan Jefferson.
No, not Jordan Jefferson.
Oh, Sheed.
No, not Sheed. The kid that was from Live Oak. Why is his name?
Oh, Jalen Lee.
Jalen Lee.
Right.
I said Jalen Cook. That's the kid from Walker. Jalen Lee. Carter, he can give you 15 snaps in the SEC. The rotation that they're going to have along the defensive line makes them 30,000 times better from the interior.
Okay.
Mekhi Wingo does not have to play 777 snaps this upcoming season. He doesn't have to lead the country in defensive tackle snaps. And you know what else? When you play New Mexico or Grambling next year, let Jalen Lee play and get Mekhi Wingo and Mason Smith off the field when it dictates itself. Here's another thing. Hey, man, Mekhi Wingo, you know why Alabama started scoring in the second half? Those dudes are worn out. Remember Ali Gay trying to sack Bryce Young, and he's so slap wore out that he misses the sack, and then they throw the ball down the field, touchdown, whatever. Mm-hmm. That can happen, but those guys are exhausted. My biggest thing is here's something interesting. When you look at this defensive line unit as a whole, you get Mason Smith back. Now, Mason Smith's got a lot he's got to prove.
Yeah.
A lot. Now, look, okay, we're getting into the territory of, hey, Big Daddy, you got to make something happen now. Okay, right. I get the injury, but you can't prevent him tearing an ACL. You can't prevent that. He had some injuries as a freshman. You got to make something happen. But what they have at Jack, what they're going to do in the pass rush with Harold Perkins, what they got returning along that defensive line, Carter, is a little low-key pretty scary because you got Sheed, you got these other dudes. I mean, it can be pretty scary.
Yeah, Jefferson's going to be a solid player coming out of West Virginia.
True knows can play it.
Yeah, he can play a lot of different places. And, yeah, I'm with you on Mason Smith, right? Obviously a great story. You see how hard he worked. You see how much he, before the Purdue game was tutoring Wiggins and those guys. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Mason Smith says and does all the right things. And if he could stay healthy, this is a big NFL draft year 3 type of season for him. And this is going to be his first full season in the new Matt House system, which is dramatically different than what the system Mason Smith was playing in over the past couple of years. So one thing Mason Smith can do is he can play any of the positions up front, which is obviously that makes him even more valuable.
Hot take on that. I don't agree with that anymore.
All right, where is your
Can't play the 5?
So the 5, okay, that's fine.
You know why?
Yeah,
he's too slow. He's too slow. In today's day and age, he can't play the 5, Carter. I'm sorry. He can't.
Well, it would obviously depend.
He had one pressure when he played the 5. He played, I think, 67 snaps. Or no. 100 and something snaps. In 2020, had a pressure.
Versus Florida, I'm guessing.
The only pressure that he had was the one that he had against Florida. Everything else was really bad at the 5 technique. Guys, 5 techniques to defensive end. He's got to play the interior, Carter. He's got to play the interior. He is not fast enough to come off the ball and get to – now, can he? Maybe. But I'm just telling you. You know what I do to him? I throw the quick screen. He'd get eaten alive. No. Like it's Chef Boyardee in this hoe.
I'll say this. I think he can in the way Matt runs it, but I also think his role in the defense next year is going to be interesting alongside Wingo. So, he's obviously got all the ability in the world. This new style, though, is going to be different because under Ed Orgeron, his job was to penetrate and make as many plays happen as he possibly can.
That's a word that Ed loved too.
Right. That's funny. You're letting it go, man. You're letting it loose. But yeah, I'm really on Mason coming back. He's going to be surrounded by a strong supporting cast, so it should be a pretty big year for him.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, buddy.
I love this Monday segment more than anything in the world.
There you go, man. You got any tips for me? You've interviewed Colin Hurley before. You got any tips for me?
Oh, what time is that? Plug that. Go.
It's right after this. Like I'm literally about to start talking to him right now.
Go.
What do you? I asked for tips. You're
ask him how much better he's learned in coverages. Okay.
Coverages.
I think it's for a young quarterback.
Okay.
Ask him who his favorite podcast host is.
Okay, well, I'm going to put him to it. All right, bub.
Don't ask him that because I'd be devastated if it's not me.
All right, buddy.
Later. You'll go over to Power Hour and watch it. That right now. All right. Went a little bit long. Should have talked some LSU basketball, but we will be back late tomorrow night. We're probably going to go live after LSU beats Texas. Or plays Texas. Let me just say plays Texas. All right, until then, we'll see y'all tomorrow after the LSU-Texas game. Until then, y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.